My name's Grace Gladys Famoriyo, and you've reached part 4, the final part of this uplifting video series titled How to Stay Uplifted and Combat Discouragement. Now, in the last 3 parts of this video series, I've talked about a number of things, but I just wanted to bring back to your attention the 2 principles or decisions, shall I say, life-changing decisions that I made as a means of combating discouragement and remaining uplifted. Now, in part 2, I talked about decision number 1, which was finally accepting the fact that God has my back. So that was basically around my trust issues. So I needed to make sure that I trusted God for real and not just giving him a bit of lip service like I sometimes do, and you might be able to relate to that too. Okay, and then in part 3, I looked at another life-changing decision I had to make, and that decision was not allowing my personal circumstances to affect my moods. Now, I decided I wanted more of the John 10:10 life, and I didn't want this up and down kind of twisting and turning of my moods because of what was going on around me. If I was to trust God, Isaiah 43 tells us that, 1-3 talks about that, regardless of where we find ourselves in our lives, he's always there with us. Even in a fire, in the waters, the deep waters, he's always there with us. So why be anxious? Good question. But we always find ourselves in a decision. But I made a conscious decision. I'm done with, being up today, down tomorrow, because of, today everything seems to be okay, so I'm fine. And then tomorrow it's not okay, so I'm not fine. And I'm like, going around with a gloomy face. I didn't want that for myself. And so that was one of the second key decision I made. Now, in this last part, I want to talk about the last key life-changing decision that I had to make. And that decision was that I was not going to allow people to steal my joy. Okay, I wasn't going to allow people to steal my joy. So how do people steal our joys? Many ways. This is when we are looking to people for affirmation, for approval. We're looking for people to accept us as part of their clique. We're looking for people to do all sorts of things for us. But in actual fact, God should be the one doing all of that. We're looking for, sometimes even things like, when people hurt us or they offend us, we're looking for them to say sorry. And until they say sorry, we harbor unforgiveness and bitterness and resentment and a whole raft of other things. And you know what? After living like that for a long period of time, and trust me, I have done that. I've not only lived that life, I wrote the book too, Quit Hiding, Start Living, How Women Can Free Themselves from Past Hurts. Been there, done it, wrote the book, and even have the t-shirt too. But I decided, I was going to get my power back that I'd relinquished to people, thinking that if I pleased them, if I did this, if I did that, or didn't do this or didn't do that, that I will feel loved, they will treat me better, they will, all those kind of things. I decided it didn't matter anymore. It just didn't matter anymore. It just became, waiting for, people to do the things that we expect them to do. Sometimes we end up waiting a lifetime. And I just love what Jesus Christ said, where he said in the Gospels, I don't need your approval. Your approval means nothing to me. And when I look in the scriptures where God tells me that I'm accepted into the family of the beloved, and that I'm part of his heavenly family, and that I'm adopted, that's all that matters. And so some years ago, I decided people were no longer going to steal my joy. I was taking that power back, and I decided the joy I'm going to be experiencing will be the joy of the Lord, and it will be because of what my relationship with God was. That through the grace of God, that he will allow me to then extend to other people. But I wasn't going to sit here bitter, hurt, in pain, rejected, abandoned, betrayed, all those kind of, those situations we find ourselves in, and then it festers on the inside, and then it has an impact on our hearts, and then we can't move forward. We're at loggerheads with people, and then because of that, we've got issues again with God, because he talks about if we don't forgive, he can't forgive us, and then so we're just caught in between a rock and a hard place. And I just decided enough is enough, no more. Okay, so that was a key life-changing decision for me. And I decided, I'm going to set my face like a stone, or like a flint, as the Bible says, and I'm going to continue my journey with or without you. If you treat me badly, boo-hoo to you. If you don't affirm me, no skin off my nose. I had to really take that strong stance, because I realized the negative effects that it was having in me, spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, in every possible way. And I have a feeling that you probably have experienced some of these things too. And if that's where you're at today, I would really encourage you to do something about it. Take your power back. How can you take your power back? Remember who you are. I'll never forget The Lion King. It's one of my favorite inspirational movies ever. I saw the movie, I went to the West End, and I saw the musical, and it's that moment Simba's father comes on the scene again, and he says, "Simba, remember who you are." And for me, sometimes when I feel like I've lost the plot, I just have to go back to that and remind myself, who are you? You are a masterpiece in God's hand. You are created for good works. You are a royal diadem for Father to use. You are special. You're a royal people, a royal priesthood, a royal nation. You are precious to God. So does it matter what anybody else thinks about you? The answer is no. Now, I know for me personally, it was a transition over a period of time. I didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, that's it, I don't care anymore." It took a number of things. It took restoration from the hurts of the past, because let's be frank, hurt people hurt people. And I had to deal with, some of the hurts that I've accumulated over the years. Ask me how? Read the book Overcoming Emotional Baggage. That's why I wrote the book. There are just so many things. I had to bring my heart before God and just pour my heart out, and and through our times together, through books, resources, going to certain conferences and listen to certain audios and videos, it really helped over time, whereby I claimed my power back. So if you like me, great. If you don't like me, cool too. Let's carry on our journeys. And that's the stance I had to make. And so I'm hoping that the 3 life decisions I made is starting to resonate with you, and I'm hoping that you could start to think about actions that you can take to help you deal with combating discouragement, but also remaining uplifted. So just basically on this last point of the letting people steal your joy, think about a situation whereby somebody perhaps is doing that at the moment. What can you do about that situation? Do you need to have a conversation with them? Do you have to break off a relationship? Do you have to speak to another party or get professional help? Whatever it is, get the support that you need. Or you can get my books, gladysf.com, get my books, and I'm sure they'll be a blessing to you, as well as some of the courses that we're going to be putting online soon. But I just want to remind you, this series has been about it's about helping us combat discouragement and remaining in an uplifted state. Now, there's so many other life-changing decisions that I had to make, including upping my, increasing, shall I say, my time with God every day. I had to make sure that there was a good amount of worship and praise in my daily time with God. I had to make sure that I stayed in the Word, because if I didn't do that, I won't be fortified on the inside, and therefore I couldn't withstand all the stuff on the outside. And I thank God, because even He says that greater is He that's on the inside of me than he that's in the world. And I thank God for that. And through Him, as David said in Psalm 18, I believe, I can run through a troop, and by Him I can leap over a wall. So I'm encouraging you today, remaining hopeful, uplifted, inspired, and encouraged is possible, because the Bible tells us with God all things are possible. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to implement 1, 2, or even more actions that will improve the quality of your life, that will improve the state of your heart, that will help you get rid of some of the negativity, perhaps, in terms of the toxic thoughts and mindsets and attitudes, so that you can move forward and be the person God had in mind when He created you to be. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I really pray that there'll be a difference in the state of your heart, that your heart will constantly be uplifted, and that you'll always experience the joy of the Lord. Now take care, God bless you, and stay uplifted. Bye.